I mean, there are people all along who basically don't want to be critical of America and really sort of forget the fact that not only were we built on a slave economy, and even though we had religious tolerance, there was still a lot of social prejudice against non-Christians, Jews, and especially the Catholics. But the fact of the matter is we are an amended society. We've been a society in process. And a lot of people sort of forget that. And our amendments have slowly integrated people into our society, giving them the right to vote, women, blacks, people, things like that, okay? So the fact of the matter is, again, to go back to the point that restorative justice was basically the model for what democracy was built on in terms of how to deal with the common good. And but this fell apart. So how did it fall apart? And the delay that happens in public policy of approving something, and especially an institution getting it built. And I'd said in class that if you took any period in American history, the most expensive public building ever built is always the prison system, maximum security, different things like that, right? So they were petitioning the Pennsylvania government to build the state prison, which becomes the Eastern States Penitentiary, which is now sort of a museum piece. But it took to 1827, almost 30 some odd years or more, for it to actually get built. And by that time, America went to the War of 1812, all types of things are happening in this country, including immigration and freed blacks. So all of a sudden, our cities begin to explode. I mean, I think it's almost like every 10 years, populations tripled in our big cities like Boston and Philadelphia. And I mean, it just goes on because America is an immigration country. And so in the same sort of debate we have now between immigrants, basically back then, there was the Shanty Irish, part of my heritage. There were the WAPs, the Italians, and WAPs means without papers. That's where the word WAPs came from, sort of like your illegal immigrants today. So this issue was always there, and those people find out are basically on the street, not employable right off the boat. A lot of them end up in the jails and the prison system. And so right from the day one when they open up the Pennsylvania Eastern States Penitentiary, they multi-cell people. And the whole theory is based upon one person, one cell, a time sentence, meeting with the Pennsylvania Prison Society people. So the whole thing basically right from the start, the first day, the theory is done. And so what did we end up with going through the 1800s? We have basically prison as a warehouse, which is when if you watch old movies, a guy named James Cagney always had these prison movies, and they're all pretty bleak and terrible, and they're jungles and stuff like that, which is true. And it became warehouses. And then in the 1830s, in the beginning, the wardens there were no chaplains, again, like I said, because they didn't think that they needed it if they went through this experience. But the wardens were basically Quakers who were committed to nonviolence and everything else. But in the 1830s, we start to have military people become the wardens. Okay, I'll be one more